Hello everyone, I'm Ankit and you're watching StudyIQ IS English. In our today's video, we'll try to understand whether 8th pay commission will it lead to 400% increase in your salaries or not. And the reason why we are covering this particular article for our today's discussion is very clear. Because on one hand, you'll think that whenever government announces a pay commission, it is following a routine exercise in order to revise the salaries and pensions of its current and former government employees, right? But it has become much more than that, because currently the 8th pay commission, it is holding consultations with many unions and associations of government employees, but it has also resulted into a nationwide debate. On one hand, people are expecting much higher pay hikes from the government, and on another hand, many people are wondering how much can actually government afford to give you the pay hikes. And one proposal here which has been raised by one of the key government departments has grabbed international attention. It is demanding that you need to revise senior government employees their salaries by as much as 4 times, that is 400%. So we are going to understand how this process of salary revision actually happens and whether such kind of a 400% hike is actually possible or not. Okay, now the notes which I will be using for our today's session, you can also download them by going to a particular Telegram channel called as ATS Live, and while you're at it, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel as well. Okay, so first let us understand the basics, how actually government announces a pay commission and what does a pay commission actually do. Now the pay commission, it is constituted by the central government once every decade approximately, and the purpose of that pay commission is to determine and revise the salary structure of its present employees as well as determine the pension that the former employees of the government are going to get. Since India got independent from 1947 up till now, 7 pay commissions have been established, and last year on January 2025, government announced formation of 8th Central Pay Commission, which you can understand would recommend changes to the salaries and allowances that the government employees actually get. Now this 8th pay commission, it is headed by former Justice Ranjana Desai, who is a former chief judge of a Supreme Court of India, and she would also up till now served as a chairperson of the Press Council of India. In addition to Justice Desai, this 8th pay commission also includes a professor of IIM Bangalore and the Petroleum Secretary Mr. Pankaj Jain, who acts as the member secretary to the 8th pay commission. So these are the 3 people who form 8th pay commission. Now, the government has announced the term of reference which was fixed by consultations with various ministries as well as state governments and the joint consultative machinery which represents the interest of the government employees. So terms of reference basically means what are the roles and responsibilities based on which the 8th pay commission will give its decision, and it is expected to submit its recommendation to the union government within 18 months of time. So in this regard, let us understand the timeline from which you can expect your salaries to be revised. Now every pay commission, including the 8th pay commission, they will in their report specify a due date, and this due date is the actual date from which you will or you are supposed to get your revised salaries from retrospective effect. Now you need to understand the actual implementation of this decision of the 8th pay commission or the recommendations of the 8th pay commission would take certain time, because government has to do its due diligence, right? So as soon as the 8th pay commission submits its report to the government, you won't get your revised salaries. Rather, government will review it and send it to cabinet for its approval. After the approval of the cabinet, government will issue revised pay orders and accordingly would make adjustments to its budgets so that the revenue expenditure, that are salaries and pensions, can be revised accordingly. Now, what is the due date that will be fixed by the 8th pay commission? 8th pay commission, its recommendation are expected to be announced next year around April 2027. However, whatever salaries or whatever hikes you will get, that will come into effect from 1st January 2026. So after you get your salaries, after the recommendations and the required approval by the government has been made, you will get arrears, and these arrears would take into account of your salary hikes that will come into effect from January 1st, 2026. So in addition to your salaries, you will also get allowances, but please remember, salaries will get hiked automatically from 1st January 2026 onwards, and the pay which you have not gotten up till now, that will be paid to you in arrears. But the allowances that many government employees get, that will be revised prospectively, that is from the date that the 8th pay commission finalizes, not 1st of January 2026. Understood? So this is the rough timeline based on which you can expect your hike salaries to come directly into your account. Now let us understand how salary hikes are actually decided. An important factor here which determines how much salaries of yours would increase is based on what is called as a fitment factor. Fitment factor is basically a multiplier that the pay commission use in order to calculate your new basic pay. So your revised basic pay would be your current basic pay multiplied by the fitment factor, which is fixed or which will be fixed by the 8th pay commission. And the 8th pay commission will take into account many factors, including the factors of inflation, on how your fitment factor would be decided. Let me give you an example. The previous pay commission, the 7th pay commission, it fixed a fitment factor of 2.57. But this did not mean that your salaries will increase by 2.57 times. Rather, it is only your basic pay which will increase by 2.57 times, and accordingly, all the other payments, including allowances, would be adjusted. So, for example, when the 7th pay commission fixed the fitment factor at 2.57, it led to overall about 23.55% increase in your pay, allowances and pension. So this is how an increase in salary actually works. What is the most important factor here? It is the fitment factor. Now, to decide on the fitment factor, the 8th pay commission is currently holding consultations with various organizations affiliated by the government, be it unions of government employees, be it association of government officers, and intensive consultation is ongoing right now. For that, the panel has already held meetings in Delhi and other parts of the country, and it is going to Bhubaneswar in July first week in order to participate in this nationwide consultation process. From Bhubaneswar, this commission will also visit Lucknow, Hyderabad, Srinagar, Ladakh, as well as other areas of J&K, so as to take views of government employees who are present there. Which employees? Central government employees, right? So currently the pay commission is actually interacting with many associations, asking them what is your opinion on how much the fitment factor should be fixed, and respectively each and every association and groups have recommended their own fitment factor that they want to be increased. For example, here some organizations, they have sought a 3.83 fitment factor, which is progressively higher than the last commission's fitment factor. There is this National Council for Joint Consultative Machinery, and it has demanded that the minimum basic pay of the government employee should be increased to 69,000, whereas there is Bharat Pratiraksha Mazdoor Sangh. It has announced, or it has demanded, that the minimum basic pay should be 72,000 and the fitment factor should be fixed at 4. Which basically means the fitment factor, it is most likely that the 8th pay commission will set a higher fitment factor than the previous 7th pay commission. But coming to the most notable and the attention grabbing demand, it emerged from Indian Railway Technical Supervisors Association, which is one of the employee bodies that the 8th pay commission is holding consultation with, right? This body has actually demanded that instead of setting one common fitment factor for each and every government employee, why don't you fix 5 different fitment factors depending upon the respective pay levels of the employee? So let me give you what are the recommendations they have made to the 8th pay commission. Under IRTSA's proposal, they have recommended 5 levels of fitment factor ranging from 2.92 to levels of employee for between 1 to 5, and this progressively increases from 3.5 to 3.8 to 4.09 to 4.38%. Meaning, the employees serving in level 17 to 18, the senior most employees of the central government, if government decides and the 8th pay commission decides on this fitment factor, their salaries will be hiked by an enormous amount. Let me give you an example of how much salaries can be revised. For example, if an employee is earning a basic pay of 2.5 lakh rupees right now, which is fixed for levels of 17 and 18, they could see revision of their basic pay to up to 10.95 lakh rupees, which means the fitment factor would be at 4.38%. Similarly, for mid-level employees, they would see a sharp jump in their salaries also. Mid-level employees currently make a basic pay of 45,000 rupees, and these employees would witness more than 3 times jump of their basic pay to 1.57 lakh rupees as per the proposed formula of IRTSA. Right? Now, outside this excitement, we also need to discuss one other important factor. Can government actually afford to give you this much of a pay hike? Let us decide on this particular factor. Now, what you have to understand, the recommendations that the 8th Pay Commission is going to give, it is going to affect more than 1.1 crore beneficiaries. It includes central government employees, pensioners who were former employees of the central government, and their family members of the deceased pensioners, right? Now, the Pay Commission here has recommended whatever it is will recommend, it is naturally going to impact the fiscal math of the government, because you need to understand a sizable chunk of government's budget in the revenue expenditure part goes in fulfilling salaries and pensions of its present and current employees, right? Now, if the central government, for example, when it revised the pays as per 7th Pay Commission's recommendation, it led to estimation of 7 lakh crore payment in the last financial year. And you know how much this 7 lakh crore accounted for government's budget? It accounted for 18% of total revenue expenditure. So out of the regular expenditure that the government makes in the last financial year, 18% of the regular expenditures just went into fulfilling salaries and pension demands of present and former government employees. And you can understand, if government increases this salaries after 8th Pay Commission, this percentage is only going to rise, which means more financial burden on the government. Now, you also need to understand that as the 7th Pay Commission's recommendation led to almost 23.55% hike in salaries, which also led to annual extra spending by the government akin to 1.02 lakh crore rupees. And if government fixes a very high fitment factor, it is not just going to increase your salaries, but it is also going to impact how much pensions you are going to make, how much allowances you would get, how much arrears the government will give you after implementation from the date of 1st of January 2026, and it will also positively impact your long-term retirement liabilities that each and every government employees are entitled to after their retirement. Now, this impact will not just be limited to the finances of central government. Why? After central government revises its pay structure from the recommendations of Pay Commission, even the state governments follow the same in order to give their respective employees the hike. So they can't betray whatever the pay commissions of the central government are fixing. So this invariably is going to multiply the financial burden of the state governments as well. So therefore, you need to understand, as government ends up spending more money for pensions, salaries and allowances of its employees, how it will collect the money. It will collect the money by increasing taxation on each and every one of you, right? So all is not hunky and dory. Yes, naturally, it is going to be a very good news for central government employees because their salaries are going to revised. But you need to understand the larger fiscal math behind it. Behind this increase in salaries, many of the citizens, including yourself, are going to end up paying higher taxes later in the years, right? So this is what you need to understand. Now, before we end up this discussion and try to solve a question that can appear in UPSC exam, there is an important announcement. Right now, we are in the month of May. It is only few days left in the month of May. You can still take admissions if you are aspiring for UPSC exam. We offer batches based on smart model of learning, where we provide structured classes, NCRT, foundation as well as advanced classes. We offer you mentorship, we offer you assessment, revisions as well as tests. All of these are integral part of foundation batches which are offered in multiple languages, including English languages exclusively. The admissions to these batches are going to end on 31st of May. So please make sure to take admissions before that. And right now we are offering 50% off on all the courses. You are going to get this benefit only if you apply this code ATS Live before making the final payment. So please remember doing that. Now, before we end up our today's discussion, in case if you want to solve this practice question, do solve it and let me know the correct answers in the comment section. The ones who get it right would get a thumbs up from my side. And if you're waiting to download the notes, this is where you'd find them on the Telegram channel called as ATS Live. So this is all from my side for today. Please have a very good day. We'll see each other again on Monday.